One of the most often comments I think we get beneath, down in the comment section is why on earth does the UK public keep on voting for the Tories? And I agree. And there are a myriad of different reasons when you sort of stop to really think about this. It's not an easy answer to just say that's why. It's that one reason. We've got the voting system that is heavily weighted in favor of the Tories. Uh, you know, we've got 2019 in particular, with the Tories banging once again, fighting a referendum campaign and reviving that referendum campaign to get people to vote for them. You've got the classic quote of, was it "Fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me." I think that very, very, very much applies to a lot of people. I think you had the Boris Johnson effect. I think a lot of people felt that Boris Johnson wasn't a typical Tory, so they felt sort of all right to sort of, give him a try, give him a whirl. I think that will be very, very different this time with Liz Truss. You look at the polls; she is not popular. They already were suffering very much because people were coming to and waking up and realizing, oh, maybe Boris Johnson wasn't a good idea to put in place. And with Liz Truss in place now, yeah, I very, 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 very much agree. We can do better. And I think absolutely we must do better. I think as a country, we must strive to sort of push forward, not only for changes in our voting system, but changing, the House of Commons, the House of Lords, making sure that, this type of people can never really get to this type of position ever again, because we've seen the disaster that, well, they can cause. So before we go jumping into today's article, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, there is also the one-off donation link that YouTube has down below called the YouTube thank you button that you can use if you like to use that. There is also the YouTube subscription where you get to join the Pony Club, where you get badges, emojis, and you also get a free super chat a month as well if you join that. So, as always, thank you very much to those people who do help and support the channel. Even if you do, just hit the like and share button. And of course, on with today's show. So today's article comes from the East Anglia Byline Times. I've even pronounced that wrong, so yeah, never mind. So anyway, title is as Truss goes to war with Britain, we can do better than this. And I agree. I think we really can and we should be doing better. So yesterday was bad. It was, in fact, very, very bad. If Johnson was a disaster, Truss has set out to be worse. And I've been saying that for a while. If Boris Johnson was bad in so many different ways, but Truss is going to be worse in a vastly different ways than Boris Johnson was worse. Trust me on that one. Well, that will unfold in the coming weeks and months. So here we go, continuing. I very much doubt that any prime minister has set out to create so many conflicts from the outset of their premiership in the way that Truss has. A portent of things to come was when Truss's senior advisor team was announced. Her economics advisors come from the Taxpayers Alliance and the Institute of Economic Affairs, and both are secretive far-right think tanks, something that we should be incredibly worried, the fact that that's where her advisors have been drawn from. And remember, it was the Taxpayers Alliance book that has basically just said, yeah, those free ports in Hull that we can just create, and then we can just get rid of. Companies that set up there don't have to worry about workers' rights, human rights, and all those other rights that people in the UK take for granted. So yeah, very, very worrying that they are drawing advisors from those very right-wing think tanks. So anyway, back to it. They hate government and they assume whatever the government does can be done better by markets. They don't believe in the NHS and they think a pension and care provision should be provided privately. They hate taxes and now they are at the heart of government. Something that we should be very, very worried about because oh boy, are they set to try and dismantle the government. Another advisor also comes from the IAE, and Truss has made clear her course that she will use her time in office to seek to dismantle the state. And as a result, she sets herself on a collision course with the civil service and the people of this country. This, I am sure, is not by accident. Truss has clearly intended on this collision course from her first comment as PM in her speech outside Number 10, and this was to build more roads, as a rebuke to the Green lobby that took some beating. She managed to beat it, however, by appointing Jacob Rees-Mogg to be business secretary. Something else we've got to worry about because he's in charge of a swathe of workers' rights legislation. And of course, Jacob Rees-Mogg infamously said, yeah, workers' rights regulation, that's just a massive roadblock to business. So yeah, gotta worry about that. And of course, with the responsibility for the environment, the man is in climate change denier. It is almost impossible to imagine a worse appointment, except, of course, for Suella Braverman as Home Secretary who hates migrants. And you know, as I said when I heard about this, just when you thought you couldn't appoint someone worse than Priti Patel, up steps Suella for the for the for the position. And I'm sure a lot of people will start to call her Cruella Braverman. I wouldn't be surprised if that starts to happen because she will start acting very, very cruelly. Trust me on that one. If you thought Priti Patel acted cruel, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. Anyway, back to it. Or Theresa Coffey to health, despite her very dubious track record on abortion issues. Something else we should be worried about because I warned a couple of weeks back about, hey, they've succeeded in America with overturning Roe v. Wade. They're coming here next. Mark my words. Her sackings were also significant. She has reduced her support base to Johnson loyalists who sided with her against Sunak. It is an incredibly narrow base inside the Tory party that is already deeply divided and more than able to sack those prime ministers they do not like. She has also set herself on a collision course outside of Westminster. Her boosterism, matched with significant spending pledges and promises of tax cuts, means she's on a collision course with the Bank of England. The bank will read this as inflammatory. They will be increasing their interest rates as a result. An increase of at least 3% is now forecast by Christmas. The knock-on effect will be bigger household budget crises for some that were caused by energy. Mortgage costs will skyrocket, and the impact will impact rents too, unless the course of this government follows Nicola Sturgeon announcing a rent freeze, which is incredibly unlikely given its ethos. And like I say, Nicola Sturgeon pulled an incredibly good move pulling that rent freeze. Outside Parliament, it is hard to see how any of this is going to sell well. The energy price cap, at least £250, will not look like a lot of help for many struggling households. And I'll say this and I'll say this again. That policy, the package of help, going to become incredibly toxic because they think they've done enough. They think they've done enough. But the problem was this package was made for a crisis that was 2 or 3 months old. We've come on a lot since then. And already, even if you cap these prices at £2,500, there's still a lot of people who can still not afford to pay their energy bills. Anyway, a fight on civil service pay, which the economic advisors to Truss has appointed will want, and which will crush the already underfunded public services and compound many problems in society. The green agenda is in tatters, and this matters enormously to young people, unsurprisingly. Mortgage rate increases will lead to a debt crisis, and a banking crisis could follow. All this, and yet there is no hint of support for any business, as I've been warning, as you well know, for the past couple of weeks, except banks and energy companies who are exploiting the current crisis for all it's worth. The supposed march of the entrepreneurs that Truss and her cohort believe in is not going to happen. Instead, the sound of closing doors on businesses heading for bankruptcy is what to expect. And I've already, I talked about this today on the Good Morning Walk. It will be an absolute disaster. It will be an absolute disaster. If this all comes to pass, mortgage rate increases, debt literally to a debt crisis, which could lead to a banking crisis, which could lead to, businesses not having their support. We keep on saying it. How many crises can one government have? Anyway, back to it. I wish I did not think millions will be unemployed, but I do. And Truss aims to match Thatcher on this issue. And this will be done by chance. The IAE is a particular opponent of the idea of the zombie company, as they describe them, which they say only survives because of low interest rates and the implicit state aid that provides. They have long wanted the economy rid of what they think to be dead weight. Those companies represented within the economy believing that they are holding back and creating new opportunities for emerging enterprises. The process that they are set upon is dubbed creative destruction. What a wonderful word for just wrecking the economy. Creative destruction, my word. By creating conflict and collision courses, it seems that Truss is intent on this destruction. But there will be nothing creative about it. Thatcher, Thatcher. That was never possible anyway. There will just be victims, and there will be plenty of victims, I think, in the coming months. I've said it before. I think November, is where a lot of stuff is going to come to a head. I really do think that is when it's all going to come to a head and just explode all over. Truss has brought the most right-wing government into office in the UK in the modern era. But it's important to note that this right-wing thinking focus is only on what it dislikes. There is no policy agenda within that thinking. Their brief is that they will be need to be met by businesses. They believe that out there in the economy there are businesses who are only been waiting for the destruction or this destruction of the government for them to emerge into the marketplace so that they can replace the services the government supplies now. Some such scavengers will no doubt exist, and healthcare scammers will abound. Dodgy insurance schemes will be peddled. But this is not the environment in which innovation and risk, innovation will risk. The needs of society and the constraints of the planet cannot be reconciled by the commercial sector. Truss is therefore setting out to fail. Her appointments and priorities prove it. The collision course she is set upon is dangerous, and the cost of all of the choices will be enormous. In this case, we have to ask the question, what comes after Truss? A Labour Party beholden to the neoliberal agenda is not the place to find those ideas, nor are the simple demands of enough is enough a cognitive response, even if they are very superficially pleasing to some. The time to create that agenda for a post-neoliberal world where economics and social justice and the belief in the virtues of accountable democracy has arrived. That's where I will be going with my thinking now, and we can do better than this. To survive, we have to. And I completely agree. I completely agree with Professor Richard Murphy in this. We have to do better, and we can do better. And I think Labour can do it. but they have to be willing to take up the challenge. They have to be willing to push forward and be bold with their policy agenda. They cannot back down from this enormous challenge that will be facing them coming at the next general election for taking over. They have to be bold and they have to be willing for it. And this is why I've said, join the Labour Party time and time again. Your influence, you can influence a party far more inside the party than you can outside. That's how you do it. Vote in good MPs. You know, that's why you're in part of the party anyway, to put in good MPs. If you get good MPs in, they will then influence the party. Doesn't matter what side of the party you come from, but we need a proper progressive agenda in the Labour Party. And as I've said before, the Labour Party has to be a big tent party just because of the way our voting system is currently structured. That is the way it will have to fight the next general election to win. And that means it can't be all socialist. Like it or not, Corbyn showed that while, yes, it does win a lot of votes, not enough to win the type of contest to get you into power. And I know that upsets a lot of people, but that means rather than going for a full socialist agenda, maybe you have to go, well, if we can't have that at the moment, maybe we can have this instead. Focus on stuff that wins, stuff that is popular among, the people, among the government. This is what we have to push for, a proper lefty agenda. And that can be done. And Labour can deliver that. I really, really, truly do believe that. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next.